The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
This podcast is hosted by Buzzsprout. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message to the world. If you want an upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find exactly what you need. We use Buzzsprout and it's a game changer for us. An all-new analytics system helps us track who's listening to our show and where they're listening to it. If you'd like to use Buzzsprout as well, follow the link in our show notes to buzzsprout.com. And while you're there, let them know that Films and Fermentation sent you.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 135. That's right, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. As I said, this is episode 135. This week we're looking at 90s teen films. That's right, last week we traveled back to our youth to look at some movies that time forgot. In this episode, we travel back to our youth again. This time, the 90s are the focus, particularly teen films of the 90s. We're going to be looking at these teen films, talking a little bit about what they're about, and discussing the level of controversy that each film seemed to have follow it. Now, some of these are going to be more controversial than others, obviously, but we're gonna like rank them a little bit as we talk about them. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. Or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. Find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family by supporting us at Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. We are now part of the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den. Find out more about our podcasts and all podcasts at the Deluxe Edition Network by going to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. What are we drinking tonight, folks? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, sir. What do you got going?
I am drinking one of the beers I got from my good friend Kevin.
Hey, that's me.
From Victory Brewing Company. Layered Up Wintertime Stout. 6.5 alcohol by volume.
Nice.
What do you got going on?
I am drinking one of the hard ciders brought to me from my good friend Leo. This is the just the right amount of tart apple bombshell hard cider from Bombshell Brewery, right?
As
Yeah,
Warhorse Brewery.
Warhorse Brewery. That's what I said.
Lake Seneca and the Finger Lakes.
Yes, this is 6.8% alcohol by volume, and I'm looking forward to it.
That is their original cider. That's the first one they developed. So it's just a regular, like good old hard cider, hard apple cider. A little bit tart.
It is tart,
but not super tart.
Tart.
I decided, since we're going back to the 90s, in the 1990s, I was growing up in South Philly at the time. And around my early 90s, when I was like 13, 14, whatever, a Nifty 50s was opened in my neighborhood for the first time. And it was one of the earliest memories I have of drinking a soda that I really came to enjoy and still enjoy to this day, the black cherry soda. So in honor of my 90s memory, I am drinking a black cherry Mike's hard lemonade.
Mike's Black Cherry?
Mike's hard black cherry.
Now, I know you also like the Mackenzies. Which do you prefer more?
Whatever I have available at the time. If I had my choice between the two, like if I had both of them, I would go to Mackenzie's first.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like the Mackenzie's, but the Mike's is it's not a disappointing substitute. I always enjoy a Mike's hard lemonade. So that is the Mike's hard black cherry lemonade. Mike, speaking of Mike's, Mike, what happened this week in film history?
This week in film history.
You now
the first
have
was yours.
to compete with me.
And I'm going to leave you two in that well. Enjoy each other, boys.
Fell down a well, eyes went cross, got kicked by a mule, and right back on. God, Mike, what we got? Oh, the first one's mine. So why don't
First
I do
one's yours.
I have a Tom Cruise fact that I've been saving for the show. I think you're both going to really enjoy this, including I think Mike's probably going to enjoy this more than anybody.
Uh-oh.
Tom Cruise has set up shop at Warner Brothers with a new movie partnership. That's right. In a new strategic partnership with Warner Brothers Studios, Tom Cruise will be teaming with the studio chiefs, Mike DeLuca and Pamela Abdy, in a joint development and production of original and franchise theatrical films starring the world-famous actor. So Tom Cruise has set up basically his own sub-studio within Warner Brothers to develop not only films for himself, but franchises.
Wow.
Starring him. He has his own studio to make his own starring vehicles now.
My God.
Because Mission Impossible and Top Gun and all that wasn't enough. This diminutive man in his 60s. If one of them is not a biography of the Dreadlord Xenu, head of Scientology, with Tom Cruise in the lead role, I'll be very disappointed.
Oh, that can't happen. They can't promote themselves.
Wait. What about
their veil of secrecy
2?
would be lifted?
What was that?
Risky Business 2.
Risky Business 2? Riskier Business?
Yes.
The Color of Money 2. Yeah. The Other Color of Money.
The Color of Money itself was the sequel. It's a sequel to The Hustler. So you could do, what else can we have?
Cocktail 2.
Cocktail 2, Cocktailier.
More Days of Thunder.
More Days of Thunder. Nights of Thunder. Far and Away Again.
Still all the right moves.
The Outsiders 2, Rise of Steve.
Majority Report.
Yeah. Mission Impossible 37. When will
Near and close? The sequel to Far and Away.
It's like starring Grover from Sesame Street.
Vanilla Land.
Vanilla. Chocolate Sky. Eyes wide open. Jerry Maguire too. Whatever happened to Jerry Maguire?
He found the money.
Yeah. That's enough of that. What else happened this week, Mike?
In 1927, Louis B. Mayer, head of film studio MGM, announces creation of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences.
Yes. Legendary name in production, movie production.
Mhm.
It was 2 years later that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences had the first Academy Awards celebration. May 16, 1929, at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel located in L.A. It consisted of a private dinner with 36 banquet tables where 270 people attended. Each ticket cost those people $5. They had to pay to go to the first Oscars ceremony. The first film to win Best Picture was a film called Wings. It's a World War I airplane film. The first person to actually ever receive an Oscar was Best Actor Emil Jannings for his performance in The Last Command and The Way of All Flesh. For like the first few years of the Oscars, the actors and actresses received awards for their collective performances for the year, and not one movie. Yeah. And so he got the award first because he was in Europe and was unable to attend the ceremony, so they mailed him his award before the ceremony actually happened.
Huh.
That's how he became the first guy to get an Oscar. It wasn't until the 1950s, I think it was, before it was finally televised and became like sort of the event that it is now. You know who the oldest Oscar winner is?
Betty White. George Burns.
I wish to. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins, who won 3 years ago for The Father at 83 years old.
Okay.
The youngest Oscar winner ever is Tatum O'Neal, who won Best Supporting Actress for Paper Moon at the ripe old age of 10.
I thought it was going to be Anna Paquin who got it at, what, 11?
She was 11. She was almost the youngest actress, and I think Tatum O'Neal is still the youngest one to win. There's been people nominated who were younger than her but did not
win. Shirley Temple?
Shirley Temple received an honorary one at one point, I think. So that's I just like when you put that up there as the fact, I was like, you know what, Louis B. Mayer had a lot to do with like the Oscars and all that stuff. So I want to look up that stuff because it's something that, at least that's something that interests me. Plus, we just had the Golden Globes recently.
Yeah, it's true.
Oppenheimer swept almost all its categories. Won Best Drama, Best Actor for Cillian Murphy, Best Supporting Actor for Robert Downey Jr., Best Director for Chris Nolan, Best Screenplay Adapted. Barbie won that new award that they gave out for box office and Best Picture, whatever the fuck they called it. Emma Stone. I keep always too many Emmas in Hollywood.
A lot of Emmas.
Emma Stone won Best Actress for Poor Things.
So to look at Jennifer Lawrence when the award was announced, do you think she would have won it?
Yeah.
That's refreshing to see that much excitement for somebody else winning the award.
Yeah, I know, right? She was really good. I heard she's really good in that movie. I kind of want to see it. It's like
because usually when they picture somebody else, when somebody else wins the award, they're all
sometimes
morose
some of the best
bitter.
sourpuss reactions were like Eddie Murphy when he lost for Dreamgirls.
Burt Reynolds
had a really good sourpuss on his face when he lost. So, you have a must-try beer craft destination for this evening?
I have a craft destination from South Carolina. This is Westbrook Brewing Company, 510 Ridge Road, Mount Pleasant. Opened in 2010 by Edward and Morgan Westbrook, this brewing company has taken Charleston area by storm. They have dozens of regular offerings, seasonals, and specials to sample at the bar, including an IPA, a white Thai beer, and a tart wheat ale called Vice Baby, and a milk stout named Utterly. You can also take a growler to go of your favorite brew, shop at the on-site store, or take a tour to learn more about brewing, packaging, and the latest special projects.
Very, very clever name play there for some of those beers.
Utterly?
Utterly, yeah.
Vice
Milk
Baby?
stout. That one's a good one, Vice Baby.
Mhm.
It's time for Synopsis According to Glit. That was the karaoke setting. I didn't hear any difference from that and one that
It kind of sounded like echoed.
Yeah. Well, I did put the reverb on there. So, Glip is brought to you by Newsly.me. Newsly.me is an audio super app for iOS and Android that reads the news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling, start listening. Go to Newsly.me today, use the promo code ANFERMENT, and get 10% off your first month premium subscription. So last week we did our visit back to some movies that time forgot. We all picked movies from the 80s. Mike's was 1982's Sword and the Sorcerer. And Kevin and I both picked movies from 89. His was Weekend at Bernie's, and mine was Leviathan, the new name in beer. This is what Glip had to say, though, about that episode. The hosts celebrate the season 8 premiere of Films and Fermentation and the happy third wedding anniversary to Kevin and Megan. Kevin got the assless chaps and still has the gimp suit. Leo said Beer Fest was right about the bubble. Mike can't drive at night anymore. Kevman and Leo discussed the comedy duo Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman handling the film and the interior designer who played the second man. Kevman thinks that the movie was inspired by a very low-budget 1983 Hindi movie, Jane Bidu. Kevin said that the stunt double received serious injuries. Mike is talking about the movie with the three swords, and that Leo and Kevin didn't see it. Mike said that the stunt man missed the airbag. Mike says the movie appealed to him as a kid. Leo is giving the synopsis of a horror film that is like aliens underwater.
I said a lot last week.
Yeah.
It was like we each had our own like segment last week because we were all talking about our films. So, yes, it was our 8th season premiere. Yes, it was Kevin's 3rd wedding anniversary last week. The assless chaps and gimp suit were a joke about how 3rd wedding anniversary is all about leather.
Yes.
I was making a comment about Beer Fest because I was drinking out of a beer boot and a bubble kept attacking me. Mike can't drive at night anymore was us teasing Mike about not being able to read the label on his beer can.
Yes.
We were talking about McCarthy and Silverman in Weekend at Bernie's. The interior designer who played the second man was Mishash Taylor in Mannequin 2.
Yeah,
that's right.
Talking about designing women and all that. Kevman thinks that the movie it was inspired by a 1983 Hindi movie, but I don't know how it's actually supposed to be.
I don't know if it's Jane Bidu.
Yeah.
He was talking about my movie. He was talking about my movie.
Both Mike and Kevin talked about stuntmen receiving serious injuries in the films that they talked about. Mike's probably the most severe since he missed the airbag off a cliff.
And died.
And the three swords that appealed to Mike and made him want to watch the movie as a kid. The three-bladed sword. And then I gave a synopsis of my movie, which was, the aliens underwater film Leviathan. So overall, it was not that far off.
No.
That was our synopsis. According to Glip, we'll be right back after a short break. We're going to hear some promos from our friends over at the Deluxe Edition Network.
Hey, this is Ron. Do you like movies?
Hey, this is Ragnar. Y'all like alcohol?
Hey guys, this is Stu. Do you like punishments?
Hey, this is Goop. Do you like cinephiles?
Hey everybody, I'm Chase. Do you guys like alcohol poisoning?
If you like all of that, then check us out at Barrel Aged Flicks. We're on Apple, Spotify, and all the other platforms out there.
Hey, this is Sammy from Barrel Aged Chicks, and I'm here with Yen.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing, Yen?
I'm feeling amazing.
Yes, you are. Well, what we're here to do today is talk about where you can find Barrel Aged Chicks. You can find us on Google Podcast,
Apple Podcasts,
Spotify,
Anchor,
and Good Pods.
Yep.
On the Barrel Age Chicks, we have myself, Sammy. We have
Yin,
of course. And then we have Snow, Crystal, and Harley.
Yep.
We enjoy talking about everything from movies to being current moms to being just the ladies of the Barrel Age Flicks boys and their shenanigans in general.
Please join us without kids. Thank you.
Yes, our podcast is explicit content, so it is definitely not for little ears. But come out, let your hair down to hear the chick side of things.
Whoop, whoop.
It's a shit show.
Please join us. We need some mom time.
All right, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us. It's time for our main segment. Tonight, as I said, we are talking about 90s teen films. But what we went with here is 3 categories: drama, comedy, and horror and action film. For each of these categories, we picked out 5 films. Again, there are many films that are not on this list. Some we haven't seen, some just aren't as popular. For the most part, we picked films that we've either seen or that, we knew were popular films from that time. And we're going to rank them on a controversy scale, because as we talk about these films, you will see that there were some controversies surrounding many of these films. So our controversy scale is 1 for the lowest level of controversy, 5 for the highest level of controversy, and then, numbers in between based on what we think. So each of us will give a little rating for these, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with the drama category, because that's definitely going to be one of the more controversial ones. And start off right away with a movie that, even before I describe this movie and talk about what makes it controversial, this is a 5 for me. for as far as controversial films go. So the first movie on our list is a 1995 teen film called Kids.
What's it about?
So Kids is a day in the life of a group of teens as they travel around New York City, skating, drinking, smoking, and deflowering virgins.
I thought you said this was about kids.
Yeah, like this is the IMDb synopsis, which makes it almost sound like a teen comedy, a sex comedy or something, but it is a disturbing fucking film. Directed by Larry Clark, written by Harmony Korine, who himself is a pretty controversial screenwriter. It's the first film for Rosario Dawson, and the first film for Chloe Sevigny, who would both go on to have pretty significant careers of their own. Everybody else in the film, for the most part, were kids who had their first acting jobs, basically, and not many of them went on to other things from there. To build on the synopsis that IMDb gave us, the movie centers around this kid named Telly, who is 16 years old. He drinks, he does drugs, he gets in fights. He hangs out with his best friend Casper, who does all the same things he does. And Telly's hobby in the film is taking the virginity from girls between the ages of 12 and 14. Not only is he disgusting for that reason, but he is also HIV positive and doesn't know it, and is basically spreading it around town. Then we meet Rosario Dawson and Chloe Sevigny, who are going to a clinic to be tested for HIV because Rosario Dawson is very promiscuous. Chloe Sevigny at this point has only had one sexual partner, and it just happens to be our protagonist, Telly. She gets tested and finds out she's HIV positive, even though she only has the one sexual encounter. She spends the rest of the movie trying to find this guy, Telly, only to not only find him at the end of the film, but find him having sex with another 12-year-old girl.
Ugh.
At that point, she passes out because she had been drugged already at some point in the film and gets raped by his best friend. And the cycle continues. It is a hard film to watch. And I've watched it twice. I don't know why I punished myself like that, but I watched it twice. The first time I watched it out of curiosity because I'd heard some things, heard about how controversial it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I watched it, it was kind of to see, like, is it still as bad as I think it was? And it is as bad as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tough film to watch, and it is a 5 for me without a doubt. It is just, it's brutal. It's a brutal film.
I've never seen it. Based on your description, it's not something that I'm going to rush out to the Blockbuster to get.
Well, luckily there are no more blockbusters.
Well. It sounds pretty intense.
It is very
And
intense.
since it came out in '95, when I was overseas, I had never even heard of this movie until now.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I thought I
It didn't
talked about
make-
it before. On the show. I think I
And
talked about it when we did the Valentine's Day episode where we did depressing films.
maybe.
I
But
might have talked about it.
I
back
have
then.
no reason that I would want to watch that.
No, I don't recommend it. This is not a recommendation. This is a.
But I'm looking. It's got a 7 out of 10 IMDb rating.
I'm not going to say it's not a well-acted film or a well-written film. It's so well-written that it feels almost like a documentary.
Okay.
Like it seems like you're following around a real bunch of kids. It's hard. The kid that starred in it later said that he kind of regretted starring in it because he felt like he was kind of mistreated a little bit the way that they made him, the character they made him play and all that stuff. So even the star of the film was like, "No, I'm good." So yeah, since I'm the only one who saw this one, I'll throw the ranking out there, and I think anybody else who's seen it out there wouldn't disagree with me that this is probably a 5 for like highest level of controversy. Even like some of the critics who reviewed it and gave it good ratings were kind of like, "Don't watch it if it's not your bag," kind of reviews. The next one is 1999's Cruel and before I go to the next one, fun fact, since you mentioned Blockbuster, Kev, I have an unrelated fun fact about Blockbuster. Do you know what the last movie ever rented from the last Blockbuster is?
Princess Bride.
This is the end.
Oh yeah.
Seems
How
sort of
ironic.
fitting. Seems kind of fitting that was the last film.
Mhm.
All right, back on track. Cruel Intentions, 1999, stars one of Mike's early crushes, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh my God, I heard that movie. Oh my.
I had a feeling Mike definitely saw this one.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've seen
come
this
on.
one, Kev. I know you've seen
I've
this one.
seen
right?
this one. Oh, absolutely. Reese Witherspoon.
Ryan
Ryan
Blair.
Phillippe, yeah.
Selma Blair.
Selma
Josh
Blair.
Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even
the
Ryan
list
Phillippe
ran
was
through,
hot.
yeah.
hmm
Tara Reid's in it. It's like, there's a lot of
I
early
don't remember
90s.
Tara Reid being in it.
She has a
But she
small
probably
role.
was.
This is around this is the same time she did American Pie, so it was probably a
I
small
gotcha.
role for her. But yeah, this is a big deal when this movie came out.
This is a modern retelling of Dangerous Liaisons, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Uh,
Dangerous Liaisons itself was a remake of like a French film or something. So this is like the remake of a remake. But I know it's like two vicious step siblings at an elite Manhattan prep school make a wager to deflower the new headmaster's daughter before the start of term, played by Reese Witherspoon.
Mm-hmm.
I know your girl was Michelle Gellar. Like mine was Reese Witherspoon at the time.
Mine was Selma Blair.
Kevin likes those dark, weird girls.
That's right.
that Ali Sheedy thing all over again. But yeah, I think the biggest controversy that came out of this film
is the step siblings.
Well, it was the step sibling thing and the same sex kiss you have with Selma Blair.
Yeah, Selma Blair and Sarah Michelle Gellar.
In the late 90s was still kind of like a, there's a lesbian kiss in this film.
Yes.
Nowadays it's like,
whatever.
So I would say, looking back on it now, like you watch it now and it's like, I could see back then
Maybe
why
a
it was
3.
like a little risque, but then you watch it now and it's like kind of tame.
It's really
compared to some shit nowadays. So I'm like, this is probably a middle of the road for me, like maybe like a 3.
2, 3, yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3. He's thinking 3, Kev?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think it's like a middle of the road controversial film.
Good soundtrack to it, though.
Yeah. Very 90s. Everything. Every movie here is, because I know they all came out in the 90s, but it's like they are the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is if anybody wants to learn about Gen X, here's your time capsule.
And we all had cars like Ryan Phillippe did in that movie. We all drove around in cars like that.
Sure we
Not
did.
the Toyota Corolla.
No, we didn't.
I didn't.
Oil change optional.
Yeah, I had a 1987 Ford Tempo that broke down every other day. Next one I have here, 1991, bringing in the 90s with Boys in the Hood.
This was Jerry Maguire boy with Cuba Gooding Jr.'s breakout, wasn't it?
It's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s first role. It is one of Ice Cube's first acting role. It's an early film for Lawrence Fishburne. Angela Bassett's in this film. It's like a breakout for a lot of these like younger black actors who would go on to like bigger things later on. Directed by John Singleton, written by John Singleton. He became, at the time, the youngest director to ever receive a directing nomination at the Oscars, and was also the first black director to be nominated for an Oscar as well, I believe. I think he did it before Spike Lee even got one. And it was a monster hit, even among white audiences. Like, it was a very popular film. But a lot of the controversy came out of how, raw and honest it was about what life was like in these California ghetto areas like Compton and Oakland and places like that. Good movie. Very sad. Very, very sad film.
Very sad. I'd say this is still a 4.
Do you think it's that controversial? I think
if you take it for when it was and how it was done, yeah.
I think at the time I would have said probably like a 4. It was just kind of like a thing that came out that nobody really like had seen before. I think now it's, again, another film that's kind of been watered down by a lot of the shit that we've seen in the last 20 years. So maybe like a 3.
Okay.
I think it maybe like another middle of the road controversy.
I would give it a 3.
Yeah. I mean 3, 4. Somewhere between that 3 and 4. 3.5.
3.5?
3.5. Next one is the film. I haven't seen this one in a long time. Like, I feel like,
oh my god,
I didn't have enough time to rewatch a lot of these movies.
Oh no.
Before this. But the next one is School Ties, 1992. This is like a who's who of who would be who, later on. So like you have.
It's almost like a movie Time Forgot as well.
Oh, it is. It's definitely a movie Time Forgot. I often confuse this with Toy Soldiers. For no other reason than like the titles and who's in it. They're 2 completely different movies.
Yeah, 2 completely different movies.
Completely different movies. There's just something about them because they also came around the same time. But you have Brendan Fraser, you have Matt Damon, Chris O'Donnell, Ben Affleck. Like, who else is in this thing, man? It's like like I said, it's a who's who of who would be who later on. Directed by Robert Mandel, written by Dick Wolf. It is a movie about, in 1959, a star quarterback from a working class family is given an opportunity to attend an elite New England preparatory school, but he is conflicted about whether or not to tell his evangelical classmates that he is Jewish. So this is a film that was sort of in the controversy realm because it dealt with ideas of anti-Semitism. In the 1950s, at a time where you wouldn't normally have a Jewish student at what would be considered a Christian school. But
because he can play football.
He can play football. You make exceptions, It's definitely 1950s football. He's a quarterback without a face mask. I'm looking at the video, the trailer playing. It's an okay movie. It's not groundbreaking or anything.
Yeah.
It's a cool little like I've used the term earlier, time capsule. It's a time capsule film. It's cool to like go and watch a film like this and see like what some of these actors were like very early in their career. Oh, Cole Hauser was in this as well. So like you have Cole Hauser who would go on to be in Good Will Hunting with Affleck and Damon. So this is kind of like this was like the recruitment stage for Good Will Hunting. You also had a lot of these actors were like going out for the same roles too at this time. Like you know, all these young guys like fighting for the same role. So when you get an ensemble film like this, it has them all together. You know, I got to rewatch this, but I think based on my memory of it and the message in it, like I don't think it was something that was super controversial.
No.
It tackled a tough subject, no pun intended, but it you know did it in a pretty straightforward way. So I would say this is a 1 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a story that's relatable for today.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a time period piece. It's 1959, so it's not like it's not a film about the 90s. It just happened to be a film in the 90s.
Yeah.
So the last one I have for our drama selection is the film called The Virgin Suicides. It came out in 1999. I put this on there with the list of films you only have to watch once. The title is not a lie. It is about a virgin suicide. It's the first film directed by Sofia Coppola, who got her start starring in The Godfather Part 3. But then will go on to have a much more successful career as a director. She followed this film up with Lost in Translation, which was her major, breakout film. A group of male friends become obsessed with 5 mysterious sisters who are sheltered by their strict religious parents in suburban Detroit in the mid-1970s. So it's a early film for Kirsten Dunst. Stars Josh Hartnett, James Woods, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito, AJ Cook, Scott Glenn, and a bunch of other, lesser known actors.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen's in this.
Yes.
So these 4, or this group of friends, it's like 3 or 4 guys, become obsessed with these girls that live in this house. All the girls are pretty. They're all blonde. They're all, very nice girls. But they live with parents who are very strict. They have a father who is like super, super strict with them. Kathleen Turner is the mother. She's a very, very like overly Christian religious woman. So they're a very sheltered group of girls. And, as the guys start to like learn more about them, they spy on them all the time. They watch them. It goes through this whole like thing like that. Eventually the girls become so tired of the restrictive lifestyle that they have, they all decide that they go into a suicide pact with each other. And the film ends with the one boy is narrating the film, describing how each of the sisters kills themselves at the end of the film. And all 5 of them commit suicide in increasingly like depressing ways. Like one girl ODs on pills, one girl sticks her head in the oven, one girl gasses herself in the garage with the car on and the doors closed and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's a film you don't have to watch more than once if you want to watch it at all.
Yeah, I don't think I'll watch that one.
It's a good film in the sense that it's an early film from somebody who would come on to be a pretty successful director. So it's cool to like see their early work. Kirsten Dunst is really good in it. Josh Hartnett is the narrator and male lead of the film. James Woods and Kathleen Turner play the parents. The different role for James Woods, not playing like the asshole character he typically plays. Playing the overly strict father in this film. Well acted, well directed, but definitely a very depressing film and one you don't have to watch more than once. For me, on a level of like controversy, just based on the topic, how sensitive and triggering that could be, and how
2,
I
3?
would probably, I might give it like a 4. It's not as like intense as like Kids, but it's still like it's a hard film to watch if you're somebody who maybe like suffers from depression or anxiety or something like that. I would steer clear of a film like this.
Yeah.
If you're interested in seeing a film that's well acted and an early film from a successful director, it is worth at least the effort of watching it once. So I'm ready to get a little more lighthearted. How about you?
Same here.
Well, it sounds like Molly
too.
is.
Yeah, Molly's ready. Let's go to the comedy category and talk about some of our favorite 90s comedies and rate them on a scale of controversy. Let's start with the
One
most
time at band camp.
obvious 90s comedy,
One time at
American
band camp.
Pie. What you say?
One time at band camp.
Yeah. American Pie, 1999. It always shocks me when I find out that this film was 99. I always feel like it was like 95, like somewhere in the middle.
Oh yeah.
But it's right on the cusp of the 90s, almost
Yep.
a 2000 film.
Mm-hmm.
Four friends make a pact to lose their virginity on prom night before they graduate and go on to their respective colleges. It's your typical teen comedy trope. You know, the unpopular virgins trying to lose their virginity.
Yeah.
Nobody really got big out of this film, I feel like, in a career sense, except for maybe like Allison Hannigan.
Allison Hannigan, Jason Biggs has had a little bit of success.
Mm-hmm.
More than, not as much as Allison Hannigan, but definitely more than everybody else involved.
Yeah.
You
know who I think had the biggest careers coming out of this? Are Jennifer Coolidge.
Yes.
Who would go on to do like the White Lotus series recently and a bunch of movies and stuff lately. And Eugene Levy, who had like a career resurgence after this film.
Yeah, that's true
went
too.
From being popular in the 80s to kind of like disappearing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Hannigan, of course, was coming off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Would go on to do How I Met Your Mother like a few years later.
Yeah.
And you got, Jason Biggs had a few films that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Klein disappeared because he had like drug problems and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Ian Nichols was a child star coming into this. He's done a few like Disney films, but kind of like disappeared after this. Shannon Elizabeth did 13 Ghosts as a follow up to this film, and then I don't really remember her from much else after that.
Hey, Stifler's mom's back on TV right now.
Well, that's what I said. Jennifer Coolidge is one of the ones whose career like really took off from this film. I mean, she won an Emmy last year for White Lotus, so like she's doing well. Natasha Lyonne's had a resurgence lately too.
Yep, she's done pretty well.
She was on Russian Doll on Netflix. She's now on a show called Poker Face on Hulu, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And has all those old Navy commercials that she's doing now. And then that's kind of like Tara Reid dropped off the planet.
Mina Savari.
Mina Savari had a pretty decent career. She went and did American Beauty not too long after that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually on the last season of The Walking Dead.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, and
Sean William
Scott, who played Stifler, is somebody who kind of like he became Stifler and kind of had a hard time shedding that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, where's the controversy in this film, you ask? Let's see. Where do we start?
Where should we start? Should we filming teenage kids in the shower?
That is probably the top tier of like controversies in this film. Is setting up the webcam in his room to film Shannon Elizabeth as she gets changed.
Yep.
And supposed to broadcast it to his friends, but then somehow broadcast it to everybody.
The entire school listserv.
And then and it's like it's 1999, and this motherfucker has a webcam that's better than the one I have now. and somehow is able to broadcast this with perfect internet. There's no lag. There's no 3 hours of download speed like you would have back then.
Yeah,
it's like a perfect webcam thing, man. But like there's no repercussions to that other than she gets sent back to her country by her host family.
Mm-hmm.
Like she basically gets punished.
Yeah,
he should have been fucking arrested.
Nowadays, he definitely.
Not only was it like an invasion of privacy for her, it was also like teen porn because he went back to have sex with her and it got recorded. Yeah, so that's probably the top tier one. I would say tier 2 is Stifler's mom banging their one friend.
Yeah.
Tier 3 would be
The pie? Oh.
yeah, fucking the pie is probably tier 3. That's actually probably tied for 2. Tier 3 would be the one time at band camp I stuck a flute in my hoo-hoo.
When you're
And tier 4 would just be everything that happens on that prom night.
Mm-hmm.
I still like this movie. I still think it's pretty funny. It was.
You watch all the sequels, though.
I saw all the sequels. I did watch all the sequels.
There's like 4 sequels.
Well, there were 4 with the original cast. So it's American Pie, American Pie 2,
American
Wedding,
Pie.
and American Reunion.
That's right.
And
American
the second
Pie,
one was
the
kind of
Naked-
funny.
Oh, American Pie Presents the Naked Mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like the other films that are like the American Pie Presents films are all like straight to video.
Okay.
And the only tying thread in most of those films is Eugene Levy. Like he kind of makes an appearance in a lot of those films. But as far as the original cast goes, it's those 4 movies. They're all pretty funny in their own right, but they don't really capture what the original one had. It was a monster success when it came out. I would give this, just based on how it really didn't age well in terms of like content, that this is probably a 5 for me. Maybe 4, like teetering on 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
There's the webcam. Oh, sorry.
So for me, it's teetering on 4 and 5.
I'd say 4.5.
Okay. So, I mean,
Which is a little bit like teetering between 4 and
a
5.
little bit about teetering between that. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm going with definitely a hard 4.
Hard 4. Okay. so did Jim when he fucked that pie.
Hard 4.
Hard 4. Well, just tell your mom we ate it. Eugene Levy fucking steals that movie, man. He is so
Yes, he
funny
does.
in that film. Next one I have on here is 10 Things I Hate About You, 1999.
Mm-hmm.
This is a adaptation of the Shakespeare play Twelfth Night. Or not
No,
Twelfth Night,
Taming
I'm
of the
sorry,
Shrew.
Taming of the Shrew. Twelfth Night is a different film.
Romeo and
Taming of the
Juliet.
Shrew. Yes. Macbeth. It is a adaptation of the Taming of the Shrew. It is my wife's favorite teen comedy of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
It is a teen comedy from the 90s. Even though it's my wife's favorite, it is one that I can watch. I enjoy it too. It introduced us to Heath Ledger.
Yep.
Julia Stiles, Joey Gordon-Levitt, David Krumholtz, Larissa
Gabrielle
Oliak
Union.
was Clarissa Explains It All on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Keegan, who plays the really vain kid who wants to be an actor, who's trying to like nail the younger sister in the film.
Mm-hmm.
He now is the leader of a cult.
Is he?
He has a
How
cult
about
that he
that?
runs in LA. Yes. Yeah, Gabrielle Union's in it.
So if you fail at acting, you become a cult leader?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Allison Janney, early role for her. Larry
Yeah.
Miller's in it as the dad. He's really funny. I think he's pretty funny as Julie Stiles.
Susan May Pratt, I know only from 90s teen movies.
Yeah, and I think she was 50 when she did this film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Playing a teenager. She was the Shakespeare obsessed girl. Mandela. David Leisure's funny as the teacher who runs detention, where he finds the kid. Is this hot? I am confiscating this, as well as that bag of Cheetos. Not a controversial film.
No.
I
mean,
think
if it's an adaptation of a Shakespeare, I would not call it a.
I mean, it's a teen adaptation of a Shakespeare play, so it's not even like a Shakespeare play. The most controversial thing in it is when Julia Stiles flashes the detention teacher to distract him to get Heath Ledger out of detention.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's probably the most controversial thing in the film. But even that was not. It was tame because you don't see anything, from behind. But
Right.
Overall, it's a good movie. It's a Heath Ledger is at his fucking dreamiest in this film. Julia Stiles is gorgeous.
Yeah.
When I watch this movie, I have a hard time taking my eyes off Heath Ledger. I'm not gonna lie. Especially when he sings the Four Seasons song to her on the football field. You're just too good to be true. So this is barely a 1. This is this goes off the scale. It's like a 0.5. Next one is 1995's Clueless. This is the movie that launched Alicia Silverstone's career.
Mm.
You have Alicia Silverstone, Stacey Dash, Brittany Murphy, Paul Rudd, Donald Faison, Breckin Meyer, Dan Hedaya as her father in the film, while Sean plays one of the teachers. This itself is an adaptation of
Emma.
Is it Emma?
It's Emma.
The Jane Austen book.
Jane Austen book.
Jane Austen. Emma, yes. Shallow, rich, and socially successful Cher is at the top of her Beverly Hill High School pecking order. Seeing herself as a matchmaker, Cher first coaxes 2 teachers into dating each other, and then tries to get her friends hooked up with people, and it's a whole thing. There's a scene here where she mispronounces the word Haitian, and she actually mispronounced it because she didn't know how to say it. But the director thought it was so funny because it kind of was like a character trait, so they left it in. So like the take of her mispronouncing a word is an actual mispronouncing. Directed by Amy Heckerling, starring Alicia Silverstone, as I said. Controversial in the sense that she ends up with her stepbrother.
No, yeah.
Paul Rudd's her stepbrother in the film.
Yeah.
Him, but
and he was like 50 at the time, so
yeah, I mean,
he's
a Hollywood vampire. He never ages, so
he's a stepbrother, but there's absolutely no blood relation.
Mm-hmm.
But he hangs out
so
with her.
Okay.
So that's okay.
It was a monster hit in the 90s. It was pretty popular in the early 2000s. I don't know if it's a film that, like, if I brought this up to kids nowadays, if they would, like, jump on it right away or find it relevant anymore or anything like that. I think Mean Girls is kind of like the film that's kind of taken its place in the canon for teenagers,
Yeah.
But it was a funny film, but definitely not a overly controversial film.
Nah.
Got made into a TV series too.
Yeah, a short-lived TV series.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about remaking it too. I've heard talks about that, but I haven't seen anything real like definitive on that. So, that's a 1 for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a 1 for me too.
Yeah. The next one is probably going to be a little higher than a 1. It's 1995's Dazed and Confused.
Yeah. A little bit higher.
Dazed and Confused came out in 1993, rated R film. The adventures of high school and junior high students on the last day of school in May of 1976. Again, not a film that takes place in the 90s, just happens to have come out in the 90s. Period film about the 70s, directed by Richard Linklater. Introduces us to these young actors: Jason London, Matthew McConaughey in his first role,
All right.
Rory Cochrane, Joey Lauren Adams, Mila Jovovich in one of her early roles, Shawn Andrews, Adam Goldberg, all these like really actors who have been around forever now, who are all very young in this film. So yeah, the things that have come out of this movie are obviously the introduction of all right.
Mm-hmm.
The controversy therein lies in the fact that there's drug use and things like that. But again, it's the 70s. It's not. It's capturing an era.
Right.
The most controversial thing I could think of from this film is the Matthew McConaughey line. The thing I love about high school girls is I keep getting older and they stay the same age.
They stay the same, yeah.
Which is controversial in the sense that it's just fucking creepy.
Yeah.
But other than that, like it's To paraphrase something Mike said earlier, not a hard 4, but I'd give it a hard 2. Which means I need more fiber. But I would give that a 2, I think.
Who does number 2 work for?
You tell that nerd who's boss. And the last one I have on the comedy list, not one that I've seen recently. Probably not even one that really holds up that well. It was sort of like a precursor to American Pie, because it came out in 1998, and it's Can't Hardly Wait. A complete graduating class consisting of beautiful girls, geeks, and promising football players assembles at a rich classmate's residence for a party. Interesting development follows at this get-together. That is the IMDb synopsis. Directed by Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, one of her first roles outside of Party of Five. I'll tell you what, the one thing that came out of this film was a fucking decade-long crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ethan Embry, Charlie Korsmo, Lauren Ambrose, Peter Fasinelli, Seth Green, one of his early roles, coming off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Just another early Who's Who teen sort of film like that. It's not
Fasinelli.
Yeah, it's
Ghost Facers.
Yeah, Ghost Facers. Yeah, it's not controversial at all.
No.
Yeah, Charlie Korsmo was in Hook. He was Peter Pan's son, and this was his first role since Hook at the time.
That's right.
He had taken
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah.
Ethan Embry was in That Thing You Do.
In That Thing You Do.
Seth Green does Robot Chicken and
Robot Chicken came
Buffy.
a few years after that because he had been on Family Guy.
Yeah, Family Guy, Buffy.
Jennifer Love Hewitt would do this. She would do I Know What You Did Last Summer. Heartbreakers with Sigourney Weaver a few years later.
Yeah. Lauren Ambrose did 6 Feet Under, I think.
Yeah. Yes, Lauren Ambrose in 6 Feet Under. Jennifer Love Hewitt would later go back to TV, do the Ghost Whisperer for a few seasons. Yeah, it's not a controversial film. Not a great film either. I vaguely remember it because I've only seen it a few times. It's a 1 for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of put it under because I needed to round out the list somehow a little bit.
Oh, Melissa Joan Hart was in it too.
Oh yeah,
Melissa Joan Hart. Oh, I forgot she was in it. Yeah, she was.
All right, we're going to take another short break so we can hear a few more promos. When we come back, we're going to close out our main segment by talking about some horror/action teen films from the 90s.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Mel.
And together we host the podcast
Spoil My Movie. We were watching movies anyway.
And we were having in-depth conversations about those movies too.
So, we decided to share our thoughts with the world.
You can expect me to gripe about inaccurate details like supposedly cold weather, but you can't see anyone's breath.
And you can expect me to be totally adorable, but also psychologically deep.
And by the end of each episode, we'll provide our respective ratings.
Using a rating scale custom tailored to the movie in question.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts.
We're everywhere. We're actually behind you right now.
Hey, this is Casey Shearer.
And this is Ray.
Do you like pop culture?
We're pretty sure you do.
Then come on over and check us out at deluxeedition.show.
You will not be sorry. Or maybe you will be. I don't know.
Hey, everybody. We are back from our second short break. Thank you for sticking with us. We're going to close out our main segment tonight by talking about some 90s horror/action films. And how controversial are these films? The first one came out in 1996 and, again, stars one of Kevin's dark girl crushes, Perusa
Oh,
Balk.
all four of these girls are dark girl crushes.
The
All
Craft.
four of them.
1996's The Craft, starring
Yeah.
Robin Tunney, Perusa Balk, Rachel True, Nev Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Christine Taylor, Breckin Meyer again. That's going to be the cast that I'll talk about.
Yeah, pretty much. Those are the ones that we know.
I had a crush on Christine Taylor, man. She's gorgeous. She was Ben Stiller's wife for a while.
Yeah.
Nev Campbell, of course, from Party of Five.
Nev Campbell, Robin Tunney, Rachel True. Again, gorgeous. And Perusa Balk, of course.
Perusa Balk, after this, would do Waterboy, which is, oddly enough, the film I think she's the most attractive in. This is a film about newcomer to a Catholic prep school who falls in with a trio of outcast teenage girls who practice witchcraft. And they all soon conjure up various spells and curses against those who anger them. This is about as 90s as a 90s film can get. From the uniforms they wear, to the goth girl aspect of it, to the witchcraft storyline, to the music and the soundtrack, to the stars in the film. Welcome to the 90s. Now, again, the most controversial thing of this film has to probably be the witchcraft stuff. I don't know too many teenage girls that I was friends with who didn't try some of this shit in real life. Like trying to make people levitate off the ground and all that stuff.
I think Nev Campbell's
they were
more.
all the goth girls who loved The Crow.
Yeah. What'd you say, Mike?
I thought Nev Campbell had a more controversial movie when she did Wild Things.
Yeah, I think Wild Things was way more.
That's true.
Shit, I should have put that on the list. So on a scale of 1 to Wild Things, this is probably a 3.
Yeah.
Whereas Wild Things would be a 6.5.
Yes.
You know,
But she was hot in Wild Things, my God.
Well, so was what's her face too, Denise Richards.
Yes.
And man, Kevin Bacon's dick.
It's better. It's more like Kevin Sausage.
Oh boy!
Like a hot dog wrapped in bacon. Long, baby. The next one on our list. Oh, well, we didn't vote on The Craft. I said 3. What did you guys say?
I'd say 2.
2.
2.5.
2.5. That's the Catholic teacher in me coming out with the 3. 1996's Scream came out the same year as The Craft. Also starred Nev Campbell. Was a movie that kind of reinvigorated the
horror genre.
Yeah.
It was breathing new life into it.
Yes.
They're still trying to bring. They're still trying to breathe life into that series.
Oh man, there's so many of them now. A year after the murder of her mom, a teenage girl is terrorized by a mass killer who targets her and her friends by using scary movies as a part of a deadly game. And that's part of the fun of this film, is the meta-ness of it all with the scary movie stuff. With the character that what's his name plays in it?
Roger Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy,
the
yeah.
Randy character who like knows all the tropes for the horror films. And
It's a horror movie that talks about horror movies while they're in a horror movie.
Yes, I like his character in the film because that's kind of the kid I was, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, who was on Friends at the time, David Arquette, Skeet Ulrich, Drew Barrymore, who has a real Janet Leigh moment when she gets killed in the opening scene of the film.
Yeah.
You have Matthew Lillard at the height of his Lillardness. Jamie Kennedy, as I said, Rose McGowan. This was a fun film. This is the film I probably need to rewatch just to see if it kind of holds up today. It is a Wes Craven film. Wes Craven, of course, created Mike's favorite movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, favorite horror film. Not too controversial, despite the fact that it's a film about teens murdering teens.
And I always thought that Scream was the funniest horror movie I've ever seen.
It does have some pretty funny moments.
Was it funny because it made fun of the horror movie genre while it demonstrated the horror movie genre?
Yeah, but it wasn't scary. It's a horror movie.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it does.
true. It wasn't
It's more
gory.
like
It was more suspense. It was more
it's
thriller.
suspense and like kind of jump scare and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. The part that makes me laugh all the time is when Matthew Lillard is stabbed by Skeet Ulrich, and he's bleeding on the floor, and Nev Campbell calls the cops or whatever, and he's like, "My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me." But yeah, funniest horror film I ever seen is Shaun of the Dead, as well as Cabin in the
Feeling a
Woods.
little
Cabin in the
woozy
Woods is
here.
another good one.
Mhm.
Next one I have on here is another Jennifer Love Hewitt joint, and I mentioned already. Know What You Did Last Summer. We didn't vote on Scream. I'm sorry. What was the Scream vote?
I gave Scream a 2,
Two,
maybe a
maybe
3.
a 2, maybe 1.5, 1.5, 2. Mike's giving it a 1. He don't care.
Yeah.
He said, "Fuck those teams."
Mhm.
Next one is I Know What You Did Last Summer, directed by Jim Gillespie,
Mhm.
starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar again,
Gellar.
Anne Heche, Ryan Phillippe, Freddie Prinze Jr.,
Johnny Galecki.
Johnny Galecki. Wow, I forgot he was in it.
Yeah.
Muse Watson is the killer. Four
Deborah
young friends.
Hobart putting on a great performance.
4 young friends bound by a tragic accident are reunited when they find themselves being stalked by a hook-wielding maniac in their small seaside town. What I remember most about this film was seeing it in the theater with Katie. We were dating at the time. Her jumping a lot because she jumps at every friggin' movie. And me laughing because the killer looked like the Gordon's fucking fisherman.
Trusting Gordon's fisherman.
And this to me is sort of like, okay, Scream was a hit. Let's make another Scream.
Yeah.
You know, because you had this, then you had like Final Destination, and you had Urban Legend, and you had all these other like teen movies like that followed that sort of mold.
Well,
Tried to be
this
meta, but didn't quite know how to do it right.
this was kind of based on an urban legend, and
Yeah.
like so they did a lot
Yeah.
of urban legend type movies at that time.
I think this is a 1.
Yeah.
The most controversial thing about it for me was that it was boring.
That they killed Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Michelle Gellar, that's the most controversial thing.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
They let Jennifer Love Hewitt live, so I was okay with that. Next one is the one I say I always confuse with School Ties for some goddamn reason. It is Toy Soldiers, which came out in 1991.
Which is on my list of
Like
movies
movies that time forgot.
I forgot.
It was on my list too, and it's funny. There's another podcast I listen to a lot called The Rewatchables, and that's all they talk about are movies that you can watch again and again and again. And I love it because almost every movie they talk about is a movie I watch again and again and again. And then recently they did this movie, and I'm like, God, I haven't seen this movie in forever.
Is this the one where the Russians invade America and the group of kids have to protect?
That was
That's
Red
Red
Dawn.
Oh.
Red Dawn, that was the 80s, so we can save that for the 80s
No,
one.
this is the one where Will Wheaton gets the shit blown out of him in front of the school. God, it was a great scene.
It's a group of troublemaking boys decide to take a stand when terrorists seize control of their boarding school. Dude, this movie is bat shit crazy.
Crazy.
I watched it after listening to it on that other podcast. I watched it again, and I was like, God damn it! I forgot how much I liked this movie when I was a kid. Because it is just like, it's a kid movie in the sense that it's like, oh, if I were in that situation, I'd do the same thing, kind of thing. Like terrorists taking over my school, I'm gonna fuck those motherfuckers up. So it's Sean Astin who plays the tough kid in this film.
Yes, he did.
Will Wheaton, who is the son of a mobster.
Yep.
Trying his best to do a New York Italian accent. Not well. Keith Coogan, Larley Ermey's in it as the general who tries to stop the terrorists. Louis Gossett Jr. is in it. He's probably the best part of the film.
He's the dean.
He's the principal, and he's pretty fucking awesome in it. Dude, this movie's just fat shit crazy. And yeah, there's a scene where Will Wheaton tries to take on the terrorists and he gets gunned down. And it's like, I remember seeing it thinking, holy shit, they just killed Wesley.
I was like, holy shit, yes, they killed Wesley.
Holy shit, they killed Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley.
On a controversy level, the scene of Will Wheaton getting shot is probably the most controversial part of the film. Cause it's like you didn't see things like
Probably.
that too often. But I would give it a 1 because it's
Yeah.
just it's like a testosterone fantasy. Like this is what I would do if the terrorists took over my school, kind of thing.
Well, it's like any other, even back in the 80s, like Goonies and stuff. It's a kid film, but kids would never do shit like that.
I was just about to say, like, this movie, it came out in 1991, but it feels like an 80s movie.
Yes.
Like, it is like, okay, it's 1991, but I'm not ready to let go of 89 yet. Like, it feels like an 80s film. It feels like the one you just said, Kev, the Red Dawn. It has that energy to it. Like, you half expect them to yell Wolverines at some point. If anybody out there listening has never seen Toy Soldiers, if you're looking for a bad movie that's fun to watch and you enjoy over-the-top acting and just batshit craziness,
yes,
it's a good Sunday afternoon film.
Yeah.
The last one I have here on our list of horror/action teen films, 1998's The Faculty. This one came out in 98, R-rated film. Casey Connor, Harrington High School's newspaper photographer, witnesses the murder of a nurse, sees her alive again, the school nurse, obviously, decides to investigate the bizarre happenings. Directed by Robert Rodriguez, who would go on to do Dusk Till Dawn and films like that. Stars, Jordana Brewster, Clea Duvall, Laura Harris, Josh Hartnett, Salma Hayek, he's the nurse who comes back to life, Famke Janssen, Piper Laurie, Bebe Neuwirth, who was coming off of Cheers at the time.
Yeah.
Christopher McDonald, who was the villain in a number of Adam Sandler films. Robert Patrick, who was in Terminator 2. Usher, who was Usher. Jon Stewart in one of his few acting roles. And a very, very young Elijah Wood. It's another like who's who of like teen actors and other like popular older
Invasion of the Body Snatchers-esque kind of thing.
It basically is the invasion of body snatchers. The faculty at this school are taken over by this like alien parasite, and the kids are tasked with stopping them. Fun movie. On a
Controversial?
level,
Not so much.
Not so much.
I think Lauren Harris has a nude scene.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
But that's about it. Jordana Brewster would go on to be in all the Fast and Furious films. Clea Duvall.
Famke Janssen became Jean Grey.
Salma Hayek, of course. Yeah, a lot of people in this film had pretty substantial careers afterwards.
Usher became Usher.
Yeah, Usher became Usher.
Usher became
other
head
films
usher.
that are like this one that come up on the list are Idle Hands, which is another 90s like comedy/horror film. Urban Legends on this list. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. So I give this like a 1.
Yeah, it's a 1.
I honestly think of all the films that we put on this list tonight, the one that is the most controversial is the first one we talked about, Kids.
Yeah.
It is just a hard fucking movie to watch. I would say the second most controversial film on our list is Virgin Suicides, followed by American Pie. And then from there, it's like kind of a grab bag. I would think maybe like Dazed and Confused, Cruel Intentions.
She's All That.
They would be like the ones She's All That. God damn those movies where those ugly
Drive
girls
me crazy.
with glasses and hair up. Were so beautiful once they take off the glasses and let the hair down.
She looks like she wants to throw a pan around and start saying, "This is what my family goes through."
Mike, do you have any beard trivia or history for us this evening?
I'm bringing back the fun
Zima.
beer facts.
You bringing sexy back? What was that?
Fun beer facts.
Fun beer facts.
The
Beer
beer
facts.
facts are back. Some people see a glass half full. Others see it half empty. But there's a phobia that refers to the fear of a completely empty glass. This rare condition is called silica phobia. Fear of an empty beer glass.
Fear of an empty beer glass. What drives us to drink more.
Friends don't let friends have empty beer glasses.
Exactly.
So, speaking of that, how are our drinks this evening?
Good.
Oh, good. I like the original hard cider a lot. I'm now working in Lily Marlene Oaked Marzen Lager.
That is also a Warhorse Brewery beer. That's one of my favorites. It's
Yeah.
their lager beer, yeah.
It's a 6% alcohol by volume, and it's very good. Thank you, Leo.
Yes, again, Mike's Hard Black Cherry. Not much to say. Always a go-to for me when there's nothing else around. So,
Peter Dinkley.
Peter Dinklage.
You know his name wasn't really Deep Roy, don't you?
What is it?
Bert.
I thought you had something funny. You were gonna,
No.
I thought you were going to tell me it wasn't Deep Roy. It was like Shallow Steve. Plateau Pete, something like that.
Shallow Kenny.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for episode 135, 90s teen films. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you can drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. That's films, the word and fermentation all together to find all of our social media podcast links. We're on YouTube. You can watch us as well as listen to us. You could also support us by going to Patreon or buying merchandise at teespring.com. You also find out more about us and all of our affiliated podcast friends at the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den, by going to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Don't forget to join us next week at the crossroads between pickled and fermented for episode 136. It's been a while since we have done this. The last one we did was early last season, where we recasted Tombstone. In the past, we've also recasted Clue and Ghostbusters. So we are going back. We also recasted, what was the other one we did? Oh, the Universal Movie Monsters we recasted as well.
Mhm.
So we're going to be revisiting the recasting couch next week as we recast a film that is probably a controversy. Speaking of controversies, it's probably controversial to recast this film, but we're going to try to do it. The 1939 classic, The Wizard of Oz.
Dun, dun, dun.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
I already got my first one. It's going to be Michael Jackson as a scarecrow.
Damn it.
We are not recasting The Wiz. We are recasting The Wizard of Oz. So make sure you join us for that program. Again, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
You've been listening to Films and Fermentation. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
I am the Lord thy God.
Stop that. Stop that.
Stop that.
I am the Lord your God.
No, you are Alanis Morissette.
You're all being very silly, and I don't want to deal with you anymore.
I don't want to be Alanis Morissette. No.
Ugh.
Really? I could be Barry White too, you know.
Ooh, do I have one of those? I have a voice changing setting.
Yeah, I got male voice, female voice, baby voice, uncle voice, and
robot voice.
Male voice. What? Yes. I know his name.
Ollie voice. Oh, stop it. We could do the whole show like this. This will be for the Wizard of Oz recasting episode. I know. It's our story week. Oh, Rudy. This will be our Terminator voice.
All right, back to normal Leo voice. There we go.
Yeah.
Weirdos.